As we all know, on the 23rd of April, the 5th issue of Visionary was released. So I'd just like to do a recap of all the previous Visionary episodes in the span of 4 videos, so we can get a complete idea of what has already happened and what to expect of the Visionary series moving forward. This video will cover the Visionary issue 0 to 1. Without further ado, let's get into it. The Visionary series is one that really delves deep into the origin and lore of the Comic Republic universe. In the Visionary issue 0, Visionary Ascension, we see on the front page one of the most prominent members of the first race, and the most recurring character in the series, Shango, the god of lightning and fire. The story starts with a prologue to the Comic Republic universe, and it gives us a little insight into how the universe was created. It reads, "In the time before time, the All-Father called Olodumare by the Yoruba people preceded creation, the spoken word, the command, Ashe. This tells us that Olodumare created the Comic Republic universe. He was the first person to exist in the universe, and he even preceded the Ashe. Ashe was the word, she was the fate of all things in creation, and with Ashe, Olodumare fashioned the very building blocks of creation, the Irumole. The Irumole served their commission and obeyed the mandates of their master, as was their purpose. This tells us that the All-Father forged the universe with the powers of Ashe. She was the fate of all things and the very tool of their creation, and with Ashe, he made the Irumoles, the pillars on which creation stood. The Irumoles were loyal to the All-Father and performed the tasks they were created to do. Then came the first children, born of Olodumare's plan, who were to guard, protect, and augment creation, the first race. After the All-Father saw his creation was all good, he moved further to create the first race, to perform their tasks as well. But as with all tales, the epochs of the first will be the first in long lines of foreign rulers. In this time of strife, the Orisha will seek to subvert all before their eyes and corrupt the will of fate itself, Ashe. So as time passed, the first race became the first rulers of creation of the All-Father until the Orisha, or the first race, betrayed their master and sought to corrupt Ashe, the very power that forged the universe. The light of creation, the Irumole of light himself, called Obatala by the ancients of Oyo-Ile, will be commissioned to intervene and put an end to the ambitions of the Orisha. One of the building blocks of creation, the Irumole of light, put a stop to the advances of the first race to corrupt the fate of all things, Ashe. But these events are all before the first whispers of the All-Father's conception of man. But even now, the silence will wait, as it has always waited. This tells us that all these events happened long before humanity was even created. Moving into the story proper, we are taken to the old Oyo kingdom in 2500 BC. On a rainy day in the Agbogudu forest, something terrible had happened. Oya, a member of the first race, had been brutally injured by Shango and was on death doors in the hands of her lover, Huisi. She then passed away, much to the dismay of Huisi, while Shango and his family are watched on. When Huisi confronted Shango about what he did, Shango responded saying, "I only retrieved that which was always mine." This makes sense because according to ancient Yoruba mythology, Shango had 2 wives, who were Oshun and Oya, both of which are not currently active in the Comic Republic universe today. Maybe he had a hand in the disappearance of Oshun as well, who knows? Anyways, Shango sends his familiar Ara to attack Huisi, and she proceeds to rain down lightning on him. Unfazed by this, Huisi attacked Ara with a special fighting style called Ijakadi. The fighting style was given to humanity by the Irumole of light, Obatala, who pitied humanity's weakness and created the 3 forms of Ijakadi for combat and defense of human existence. The 3 forms of Ijakadi includes first form, Fist of Destruction, second form, Descent of the Elephant, third form, Walk of the Rabbit. With these moves, he was able to defeat Ara and was about to kill her, if familiars can be killed, until Shango stops him and takes him out with his thunder shards. He begins to apologize to Oya for his defeat, stating he cannot defeat Shango as he is a god. Suddenly, he is approached by a mysterious voice, speaking to him. It tells him, "So Huisi, lover of Oya, have you given up? Huisi, will you fight for your dead wife and brethren? Will you become more than man, and do my will and protect my vision of creation?" He responds with, "I hear, and I concede." The mysterious voice belonged to none other than Ozoxi, a member of the first race and god of the hunt. With Huisi's consent, his body is possessed by the Orisha, shouting, "Ascend, Huisi, arise, Ozoxi." Visionary Ascension is basically about Huisi's ascension into godhood from just a mortal man. Shango, upon seeing this, shouts, "You thief," claiming he stole the powers of a god, and he tells his familiar, "Arise, awaken, herald Oshe. I am Shango, the king of Koso, the eternal one. The hunter cannot hunt that which is beyond him," he shouts before he manifests his verve on the ground, a stamp of authority. He uses the powers that shaped creation Ashe as he transformed his familiar Ara into armor and weapon for himself. The resulting blast completely destroys the entire forest, and then the godly beings engaged in a battle, each vowing to destroy the other. We then cut back to present day in OAU Teaching Hospital, Ile-Ife, Osun State, where Jide Martins is treating a patient named Damole Ajanaku, who just regained consciousness. This was the protagonist of the series, as we later found out. In the issue 1 of the series, Visionary The Awakening, we see Shango in the Visionary issue 1 when he is in the domain of Koso on a higher level of perception, where time is not applicable. He was wielding a flaming sword and sitting on a throne before he was summoned by the NSCSS using Memotech. He calls to the rest of his familiars before answering the call, calling to Ara, lightning, Ino, fire, Iji, storm, and Monomono, thunder. Shango comes out of the portal that he created using a storm and lightning, with the soldiers even remarking on his ability to affect the fabric of reality after he was summoned by the SWD, the Science and Witchcraft Division of the NSCSS. The summoners tried to bargain with him, stating they had found the shrine of Wisi and were willing to exchange that knowledge for a favor from the Thunder God, but Shango was furious at being summoned and didn't even let her speak. He was met with the Meds, the magical entity takedown squad. Armed to the teeth, they engaged the King of Koso after he was deemed hostile, and it is often said of the NSCSS that they have more guns than men. This statement proved to be true on that day, as they threw everything they had, from highly pressurized laser blasts to short-range shotguns to dainty emulation rounds, sniper shots, and tank missiles. He was straight up shot with explosives, but he didn't even retain a scar after all that. His clothes didn't even burn. He was even fast enough to catch a bullet from their god-killing gun with his teeth, and all their bullets just bounced off his skin. He just walked past them all and told his familiar to lay waste to them all, before she turned the entire battlefield into one giant battle, and Shango walked away from the blast like he was the main character. Well, maybe he is. We then cut back to the protagonist, who was having a dream where he stood in front of a large gate among a large crowd of white souls, and then we are told, the skies and the earth do not touch, but the dreams of mankind have no end on heaven or earth. Damole Ajanaku was wondering where he was, but soon he was pulled out of this dream by someone with purple skin, who said, "It is not yet time, young master," before he awakens from his dream. He wakes up in the hospital and wonders why he keeps having the same dream. He is approached by the doctor, who tells him that due to the incident that he and his sister were in, she was not acknowledging anyone else but him, pointing to psychological damage to her rather than physical. He also told them that his grandmother was coming to pick them up soon. Then we find out something strange about the protagonist. If you look closely, you can see his eyes glowing red, and it is revealed that he has the ability to see spirits. Soon after, his grandmother comes to pick him and his sister up, taking them back to Igonle village, where they get some rest. The entire place is filled with supernatural and paranormal entities that make you feel like you are in a new world altogether. Anyways, the next morning, Damole decides to get up and practice the ancient fighting style Ijakadi that was taught to him by his father, who told him to practice every day before the cock crows. He demonstrates the 3 forms of Ijakadi fighting style, and it seems to have evolved over thousands of years. It has been used in the Ajanaku family, with the first form being Descent of the Hammer and Falling Heavens, the second form being the Bowstring of the Slow, and before he could attempt the third form, he remembers his late father, who taught him the fighting style. He had always had trouble learning the third form, and his father's advice was to listen to the silence and find your middle, because he was his son. He then tried the third form, Airwalk, only to fail once again, and he began to sob, not for pain, but because he misses his father, and he is quickly consoled by his grandmother, who states that those who wanted their inheritance had taken their son, but they would not succeed. They would find Ifa and divine his way. In a nearby tree though, an intruder was lurking, and he seems to bear malicious intent, and he was on the phone with someone else. The only words he said were, "We found them," and proceeds to stare at Damole and his grandmother through shining eyes that shone through his dark sunglasses. Who he is and what are his plans for the Ajanaku family, we don't know yet. The issue ends there for now, but I will continue to cover other issues of Visionary series in more videos, so stay tuned for more updates about your favorite comic book stories.